That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the ETH market, because ETH is up. We are happy ETH is up. No matter what slander we were giving it the last week or two, we can be happy today. We will discuss all of that and more. We've got loaded up for discussion. ETH up. It was up 26% at one point. Looks like around 20 something percent now to 2.3K. Everything, though, is sending higher. We're going to touch on all of that in a little bit. We've got Coinbase acquiring the largest Bitcoin and ETH options trading platform, Deribit, for $2.9 billion. And we've got US banks receiving confirmation from the OCC that they can buy, sell, and custody Bitcoin. Pretty big news. There's lots and lots of bits of news today, so we might run a slightly different show. We kind of touch on different bits of news routinely rather than do like big deep dives into certain bits. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs more generally, as well as our general thoughts on what is going on and where liquidity is moving at the moment. I've got Brad in the co-host seat with me, and we've got our partners from Silvermine Capital with us. We've got David. He's an investment partner at Silvermine Capital. They invest in pre-seed and seed stage projects in crypto, and they run a liquid portfolio too. So very interested in what they've got to say about how the market is moving at the moment. And we're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This is all incredibly risky stuff. Huge moves going on in the market. So do your own research. Trust your own. I was going to say trust your own judgment. Form your own judgments, and then you can decide whether you want to trust them or not. With that out of the way, Brad, it's Friday. It's the 9th of May. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Hey, friends. Feeling good. Nose a little sniffly. Still getting over the sickness that I had as early as a week ago. But, we're back. I got out yesterday and enjoyed a little bit of the sun. Got to do a flower trail, daisy trail, wildflower trail. Maybe that's what we call them, one of those things. Just got a bunch of fucking flowers all along the hike. It was a lot of fun, and nice and pretty. Weather's turning up. Starting to plan out the summer a little bit of travel's coming up. I'm maybe doing the mega mafia thing in Copenhagen, so got to plan a little bit of that. I think I'm going to stop by Rome again and get a few sessions of my tattoo. Hopefully complete that thing.
Sounds very extracurricular, Brad. All sounds very unaffected by the markets, just kind of enjoying life. I'm kind of querying that.
Yeah, I'm looking back over I was looking over the last 2 or 3 days. What have I been posting about? What do I care about? What is coming to mind to me? It's all just nerd posting shit. It's it's the same shit. Pectra hit, so I'm watching validators who are turning their gas target up from 36 million to 60 million on Ethereum mainnet. So hopefully L1 scale keeps coming. Kausamani still triggering a bunch of people with bait saying Ethereum is Coinbase is Ethereum. A little bit of number stuff. Yeah. Kaito yields maybe have some flashbacks of our Pendle days. If you remember all the LST farming we did with Pendle, I got absolutely fucking wrecked by buying a bunch of YTs on things that I don't even know that I got the right airdrop for. I evaporated 20 ETH for that, I think, at one point.
God.
Life is good.
Life is good. That Pendle stuff is on my list to just, they've got great educational materials on the website. So if you do want to dive in, I've been kind of diving in there a little bit just to understand better how you can kind of monetize that yield. It's interesting. I
want to sell the shit this time. We were buyers of the yield in our past life because we're always so excited for the future. I think I want to sell the yield right now. Everyone's really bricked up on Kaito yield. Oh, bro, you're gonna get airdrops for infinity.
I would be very excited to sell the yield. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 30% right now.
Wow. Okay. Something to look into for sure. Rahim just in the comments in YouTube saying Brad needs to talk more about his time management, especially whilst traveling. I think that'd be a good thing. It's incredibly hard. I mean, I've obviously been away for a couple of weeks. It's hard to be on the move and do everything that we do. I was just saying before the show to the boys, what a terrible time to not put on the trades you want to put on because you're too busy doing other stuff. The market's just moved so fast. And I was, well positioned in some ways, Bitcoin and hype being my two kind of main things at the moment. So I'm not overly upset, but damn, when it moves fast, it really moves.
Sell-in mayors are getting murked right now. If you had sold at the start of May, you missed a fat move.
The market
last
literally
9
waited
days.
for you to sell
Yeah.
in May and then just decided to turn it all the way up. David, how are things your side? How are things going on the fund side, the liquid portfolio? What's your experience been? Catch us up last couple of weeks. It's been a big couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, every reference point of coming on this show every 2 weeks, it's the amount of stuff that happens and the moods and the thought processes is pretty amazing. And as to your point, like the sell in May and go away stuff, everything that we thought and every previous trend that you've seen through cycles or whatever and expectations has kind of just been ripped up. So it's super hard to know in like the short term, right? No, summer's normally a pretty quiet time. Us going into summer at the moment, we seem to be ramping up into a lot more deal flow, a lot more M&A action, a lot more liquid trading. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the summer, especially with whatever Trump comes up with next. If we start to see a load of trade deals like we did with the UK coming out, the market's obviously responding well to those, even though the UK isn't even really that much of a significant trade deal. But it just shows how willing the market is, right, to want to move up, which I think is the best sign. It's just this like beach ball that you just can't keep under for long. So it's really exciting. Like it's great. I know some of the headlines that we're going to get into kind of fortify some of those points. So yeah, everything good on this end. It's nice to finally see some life in the markets. Obviously, you can have as longer term thesis as you want and confident long term as you want, but it's never nice seeing stuff you're holding or stuff go down because it's just naturally going against your long term thesis, and it's a mental game. Sometimes you just have to keep questioning yourself and reinforcing your thesis. So always nice to see a few days like this. But yeah, long term, nothing changes.
Yeah, good point. I think that's one of the specific, and we're going to touch on the variety of things you mentioned. There's various news things coming out today, which are again just like interesting, noteworthy, and worth talking about. I think it's the political side here, which is going to keep the market alive, because it's still, whilst it is not, the market seems to have lost the downside for the news and only wants to react to the upside. I've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. It feels like, they can say, China can say whatever you've been saying is not true. We haven't really been talking, but the market doesn't want to go down on that anymore. But then, as you say, some kind of relatively insignificant trade deal with the UK will just really provide a lot of optimism to the market. So it feels like it's downside protected, upside almost insured as positive things come about. And as you kind of alluded to, the UK is first. But I guess the expectation is that they want to be announcing these things routinely. It's not like, okay, we announce one and see you back in September to announce the rest of the stuff, right? I don't think that's the case. I think they want to be routinely announcing various things, and that will keep life in the market throughout the summer, actually. And that's why it's so important to, I guess, assess all of these preconceived notions on the specific set of facts every single time, because yeah, just applying a traditional rule doesn't make sense here. Do you want to come back on that at all, David? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, no, exactly right. They're kind of laying down these pipelines. They had the huge uncertainty, huge tariff to blow up the uncertainty. And now as they start trickling through these trade deals that they align every week or so, like the market's going to get less and less excited by that. But it's still this underlying thing that comes to have this expectation, like almost like the bad, rip the Band-Aid off's over, now the good stuff coming. And you then pair that with all the positive stuff that's happening within the blockchain space. It allows all of the stuff that we're seeing to have a really positive impact on whether it's Bitcoin through corporate treasury buys or the banking sector getting more institutionalized into it. Like it allows us to see all the news that we've been having over the last 6 months that in any other time would have been unbelievable positive impacts, but it's just been muted through the macro uncertainty, giving us that base in macro of all these trade deals coming through and a bit more certainty, combined with these more and more bullish headlines we see, puts us in an unbelievable position, I think, over the coming months.
Go on, Brad.
This is left field. Are we selling these Kaito NFTs? Do we like?
Brad, the answer for you is
It's always yes. Like
yes,
I'm looking
because
at
you're
this,
not
like,
going to sell it
bro,
if you don't just
it's
sell it
back up
right
to
now.
like it's back up to like it spiked like 3.7. I see now it's down to like 2.4, 2.6 floor, 2.4 ETH.
Just
I don't want to sell
it.
this thing.
List it at a price that you're
We're
happy
in a
with.
downtrend. If I list it, then if I can't be the floor setter. Like I said, a little high, then it's just gonna bleed out and it's just gonna sit out there for a little bit. So it's either I gotta ETH it or I gotta I don't know.
That's literally the worst way to sell NFTs. Just list it at the price you're happy with and then wait. That's the way to sell NFTs.
Do these NFTs keep getting perpetual airdrops of Kaito? Is that their utility?
That's why. Yeah, he didn't Punk what's his actual handle? I don't know his actual handle. The founder, has been bull posting the shit out of Kaito. It's like, oh, this is the revenue. Oh, we got like a gajillion airdrops coming. Which he's working hard. He gave us a good boop allocation. I think I got like 4K for that thing, for like all my boop staked and everything. So it was like there's a decent amount, considering I still have a shit ton staked. But like, I mean, with ETH pumping a little bit, like if we think ETH is going to continue to run, like he's probably going to bleed out because everyone's going to price it on a dollar term. But yeah,
and are those that boob airdrop, is that coming from you yapping, or is that just from the NFT? Like if I had the NFT and have never
there was two allocations. There was one that was like purely based on like Yap leaderboard positioning, and if you talk about meme coins and stuff, like I'm not a shiller, so like I was tier 3 yapper, even though I'm like a top 15 all-time yapper. But like people who talk about meme coins a lot got a lot more allocation. They got like 700,000 boops, like 200 grand, some shit like that. But there was there was a second cluster, which is like if you staked Kaito and or had the NFT, you got another allocation. And I believe that is what gave me my second allocation, which was like roughly
Correct.
4 or 5 grand. But like,
nice.
between the NFT and I have like 70 grand from my initial airdrop still staked in Kaito. So it's like I got a lot of fucking, like if it's a 4% thing or 4K thing, it's 10% return.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, it's less that there's specific Kaito rewards targeting those things. It's more like these partners who are maybe leveraging the data or want to target these specific people, just showering rewards. So
I just love like and this, you guys obviously probably talk about this a lot in terms of the fact that the rewards for building just a personal brand that any single person around the world can do in this space is incredible. And the way this is becoming like democratized and it's being rewarded in a way that's kind of verifiable. That's one of the most amazing things about this space and the power of a personal brand that anyone can create.
So actually on that, it's like, this is kind of just like a notable aside. Like, yes, you're right. I see Obese is probably the most prolific at someone who's like, he's climbed really high on the leaderboard. He's actually leaning into like the airdrops or the community incentives that a lot of these people are giving, like, Polkadot, doing their monthly reward, whatever. So he was able to get, 9K this last month. Enough so that I saw someone from YouTube, like it's making him take it serious, like creating stuff on X seriously. Like he's someone who's like 100 and something thousand subscriber NFT YouTuber guy. Like that's his domain. Like he spends all his time over there. Even like as a splash effect from his popular YouTube presence, he has like 130,000 followers on X, right? So he's a pretty popular stuff. And seeing all of this stuff, he's going, I need to spend more time on X. It's like, I'm coming over here. I want to like dedicate time to it because I see that this is better than what I'm doing over on YouTube. So yeah, that is good.
That is just an anecdotal thing on revenue and other platforms as well. When I've been speaking to other media platforms who maybe specialize on other things, whether their primary distribution is Spotify or YouTube or any of those other ones you just mentioned, Brad. I think this is a crazy thing. Like we probably out-earn them, like with our numbers on the modern market, because for two reasons. One, we've like super X native anyway, even as a brand. But then in addition, our personal brands collectively leverage, the modern market leverages our personal brands. And because we all kind of got good personal brands, which are specifically X focused, we're able to access deals that other people with significantly more listens on Spotify. But it's to your point, David, you mentioned this is like a verifiable way. what does it listen on Spotify these days? What it, you know, they track downloads. What's a view on YouTube? Like it's there's something very, very cool about being able to jump into a Twitter space and scroll through the listeners, you know, and like actually see the profiles who are watching. So I think there's some real value there.
Yeah, Brett, I'm interested, like from like a mega ETH sort of perspective, as you guys look into marketing, where would you place the yapping or this sort of movement ahead of other marketing efforts, whether it's podcasts, sponsorships, or things like that? Is it pretty much like this is the best strategy for us going forward?
Yes, 100%. Like crypto. So you have to view them as like different pockets, right? So like, I would say the most valuable pocket of consumers is crypto Twitter, X. Like those are the most native people. Those are the most like, if you want to be part of the conversation, if you want to be part of the actual mind share of crypto Twitter, you want to penetrate CT first. Like it's the most dominant one. If you can do that, then like you want to saturate it. Once you saturate it, then there are other pockets that are growing that are not penetrated, but they do have presence, which is like YouTube, which is, you know, even TikTok. I'm finding there's a TikTok morning show that I attended because like, oh shit, like there's actually a group forming here because of like, this is how they consume it. And this is the only way they consume crypto information. So like crypto Twitter is the most valuable one. That's where like the biggest players are. That's where the most alpha is. That's all of that stuff. But there are other like concentric circles of value out there that you should work to penetrate once you feel comfortable with your positioning there. It's a lot to maintain, right? Like, so if I'm the one dealing with all the socials and the strategy and everything else of Mega, it's like, okay, we really need to hammer CT. Once we feel comfortable and have a structure there, it's like, okay, who do we know in TikTok? Who do we know in crypto and crypto YouTube? And like, how do we penetrate that without like actually knowing the scene? And like, yeah, there's value there. And a lot of that comes from like, yeah, just doing guest podcasts and stuff, trying to figure out the lay of the land. Same thing it is here, right? You got to learn what the spaces are. You got to figure out who the big players are. You got to try to like figure out the best way to communicate to them, because creating new content or new accounts, like maintaining a mega ETH account on all of those things, probably pretty fucking tough. It's better to meet them where they are.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. As I said, like incredibly valuable opportunity for anyone participating in the space to build that. Want to get into the main stuff in just a second. Oxy, quick take here from you. Come in on this. I guess it's to do with the Kaito stuff or the opportunity on brand stuff. Welcome to the stage, my man. What's your take?
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's funny. I was talking to Legendary the other day about this, and we were kind of going back and forth like, oh, is it too easy to make money with just a personal brand and like crypto Twitter or what have you? And then I don't know, when we started talking about like just the broader, I mean, if you look at like TikTok brands and Instagram influencers and things like that, really what it boils down to is just so concentrated here that I think it just feels like, I mean, it is a ton of money that's being given out, but I think as like the, space progresses and continues to grow, we're just kind of, I got maybe front running what's already happening elsewhere in this attention economy. And it's just, I guess, reiterates that like build your brand now, because it's not going to be as easy as it is now to continue to grow in this space. Because I don't know, you see it everywhere. It's just going to start getting more and more saturated, and more people are going to come in.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like we like, it's easy in retrospect. Like all of us are like, oh yeah, like dude, it's so easy to make money, do whatever. Like B-Check, you've had a year and a half of daily shows. Like I have been like, I built my account to get to where I am by like, 25,000 tweets over the course of 2 years, building several products and like dedicating myself to doing this. Like, so like, yeah, like the opportunity is massive. I would not say it was an easy journey.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Opportunity is huge, not as straightforward as you would think, but definitely a greater opportunity, a greater relative opportunity than other places, I think, for the reasons we've just said. Interesting. This is a topic we'll keep coming back to. I think it's incredibly interesting and important for everyone who's kind of like even just broadly entrepreneurial in the space, which I think everyone is because they're in crypto to try to better themselves financially or otherwise. So we'll keep coming back to this stuff, but let's keep it moving today. We've got to get into the main headlines and the general roundup, because that's why you're here. You want to know what on earth is going on with the price action. Let's start with the majors. We've got Bitcoin is up 4%, which for once is underperforming some of the other majors. Bitcoin's at 103K now. I think it went as high as 104. We've got ETH up 21% to 2.3K. We're going to have to talk about that in a little bit, although I'm very conscious of doing the thing where price leads narrative and then justifying a whole load of reasons why ETH is up 23%. And it's like, there are no reasons, just like there are no reasons why it went down so much. Cool, sure, there are some reasons, but you know, today is just a day. It's up 20. We'll discuss it anyway in a bit. XRP is up almost 10 as well to 2.4. BNB is up 4% to 637. Solana's up 13% to 173. Getting into the meme coin side of things, green across the board, double-digit green everywhere. We've got Doge up 14% to 20. Pepe's up 40% in a day. I think there's 5.2 billion now market cap. Trump's up almost 20%. Bonk's up 25%. Fartcoin's up 25%. Pengu's up 10%. Whiff is up 20. I would just be a broken record going down this list, to be honest. AI16Z is up 25. Mog's up 12. Almost everything up double digits from those kind of more popular coins. Just checking in on the kind of maybe more recent popular coins, things like, can I see Housecoin here? What's Housecoin? Housecoin's only up. What do we have here? Oh, okay. It's actually down. That's strange. Housecoin's down a little bit to 48 mil. So maybe some of the newer ones kind of dropping off a little bit, but everything else really moving. Getting into the main headlines themselves, we've got ETH running. We're going to talk about why everything's sending higher. Got Coinbase acquiring the largest Bitcoin and ETH options trading platform, Deribit, for $2.9 billion. US banks receiving confirmation from the OCC that they can buy, sell, and custody Bitcoin. That is pretty huge news. We've got in some notable price action. We've picked out some things already, but Virtuals is up another 25%, back over $2 on the AI side. Got Sui up another 10% to $4, hit $4 for the first time in a while. Bearer's up 28% to $4.20. Hype is up 14%, broke $25. Mudeng is up 188%. Peanut was up 70%. Eigenlayer was up 50%. Just like these are entirely unrelated, uncorrelated things as well. So it's really just everything moving aggressively in one go. Fartcoin, Pepe, as we already mentioned. NFTs, some expensive NFTs getting sold, and the CryptoPunk floor actually went back to $100,000. Crazy how fast that can happen when ETH actually puts in a fast move. So if you look here, CryptoPunks for sale, cheapest one now is $101,000 at 43.4 ETH. For punks have basically been for 40-ish ETH for a long time. It's just obviously when that's at 1.5, it's like a 60K floor or something. So big move on the CryptoPunk side. In terms of other NFTs, let's see if there's anything else worth noting. I don't specifically think so. As I said, CryptoPunks are back at $100,000. Kaito Genesis, as Brad said, is dropped off after a colossal pump. It's up 60% in the week, but down 27% on the day. So those are some things going on there. Getting back to the roundup, we had all kinds of interesting stuff here. Robert Leshner's Superstate had announced they're going to be bringing public equities to Solana. That's interesting. Meta is in discussions to introduce stablecoins. Stripe announced stablecoin-backed cards in partnership with Ramp. Huge kind of developments there on the stablecoin side. Jump Crypto has taken a strategic equity position in leading tokenization platform Securitize. That's important. If you care about everything coming on chain, Securitize in charge of like a lot of tokenization. The Senate does not pass the Stablecoin Genius Act. Democrats were the deciding factor there. There were a few things that they were complaining about, but it looks like they're going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Boop changes their airdrop claim mechanics. No longer can KOLs claim everything. Their reward is now split with holders. Celsius founder Alex Mashinsky was sentenced to 12 years in prison after pleading guilty to commodities fraud and misleading investors. You had a purpose-built entertainment blockchain raising 17 million pre-seed called T-Rex. It's a kind of consumer entertainment protocol. Arizona, gosh, there's a lot of interesting news here. Arizona establishes the second US state Bitcoin reserve, but not in the kind of same way that the first one was. The key distinguishing thing here was they're allowed to turn unclaimed state assets into Bitcoin through a budget neutral strategy. That is in contrast to the way the first state established it, which was like, no, you're allowed to spend X amount of funds to diversify into Bitcoin specifically. And then finally, Rumble announced a crypto wallet coming in partnership with Tether in Q3 this year. The goal is to become the most prominent non-custodial Bitcoin and stablecoin wallet. So that was a lot. That was a lot to get through. I think we're probably going to jump around a little bit here, but just first kind of response, David, any of those bits of news towards the end, anything catching your attention in particular?
I mean, it's all good stuff, isn't it? I mean, it's a good day. I think the bit that really excites me is more the like what could be classed as maybe boring stuff with like the OCC and the US banks receiving that sort of confirmation. Like it sounds like just like another headline that you kind of see nowadays, but like it's just so important. I think we always need to just remember like there's only 21 million Bitcoin, and anytime any new corporate treasury is set up, or in this case, any bank in the US can now offer those services, they are incentivized to provide service to their clients to earn fees. So now that they can do this, they want to custody these assets. They want their clients to own these assets. They want them to be actively coming in and out of them. And because there's only a 21 million Bitcoin, anytime one bank decides to do that, then some Bitcoin gets taken and put on their balance sheet, right? Through their customers or through whatever, through them having a reserve, through them putting it on their balance sheet. It's just every few months, or at this rate, every few weeks, these sort of headlines just chip away at some of the Bitcoin supply being bought up and held. And like over that impact of compounding, which as humans we're very bad at like kind of comprehending, but over every week and over every month and over every year, over the long term, these things have a catalytic impact on the price of Bitcoin. And it's just great to see, right? And these are huge moments that when we look back 5 and 10 years, are the starting of the building blocks that are bringing this asset class to the mainstream, to being institutionalized, to becoming like the backbone as a global asset class. So I love seeing stuff like that. It's not as exciting as Fartcoin going up 50%, but it is the sort of headlines that make a long-term impact on the industry.
Yes, I completely agree. We will talk about both. We'll talk about the boring stuff, which kind of serves the foundation or strengthens the foundation for the industry. And then we'll also talk about the stuff that's running in a second. Just to give people a little bit more context, here's the article on the OCC giving the banks the green light to offer Bitcoin and crypto custody and trading services. This is from the NASDAQ. We're sharing it on screen if you're watching. We're obviously streaming on Twitter and YouTube as well if you prefer watching in. The new guidance confirmed that national banks and federal savings associations can engage in crypto asset custody and trading services. And in this article's opinion, the decision is important as the OCC's guidance enables banks to participate more actively in the rapidly growing crypto market, which now includes over 50 million Americans, obviously responding to this demand, right? Which is that a lot of Americans hold crypto. If anything, the banks not being able to participate has been a huge hindrance because everyone who already owns crypto, because they've found the way to go and get hold of it, has meant that the banks have not been able to participate in this whole industry. So, this is part of ongoing efforts to ensure that banks can responsibly engage in emerging financial technologies while protecting consumers and complying with applicable laws. So yes, I think that is pretty significant, as you said. Okay. Let's go. Brad, did you have anything to add on this? Otherwise, I was going to maybe ask you a little bit on ETH. You are maybe in the same way Funky's the Bitcoin correspondent, you're probably the ETH correspondent. What are your thoughts here? ETH going absolutely crazy, conscious that price is often leading narrative. Is that what's happening here? Or like just how are you looking at it?
I lose a lot of it, my individual thoughts on this stuff loses conviction whenever I see literally everything is pumping, right? At that point, it's kind of just like a liquidity thing. And like,
yeah,
whenever Moodang is running harder than ETH, which is running harder than Bitcoin, which is like, so whenever like literally everything is green candle, it's like, oh, like, all right, cool. Like, yes, obviously you want to look at strength within like that paradigm, but it loses value to me to think that something that is fundamental whenever literally everything is pumping all the same. So Yeah, like I'm of the same opinion where it's like it's good. Like ETH has been so unbelievably clobbered the last year and a half that like it's good that we're actually starting to get a little bit of love there. I say we, but like, I think it's just like the ecosystem. I don't consider myself like ETH, even though like I'm part of it. Yeah, like the hope is, or anyone's hope should be that this price correction is coming with alongside the latest update, which does have some focus on scaling Ethereum and trying to course correct a little bit for what the market has been telling it that it wants. So there is hope there that like some of this is fundamental and it is propped up by like actual bid based on fundamentals.
And then by that you mean the Pectra upgrade, the kind of attempts to make ETH more usable, more consumer friendly. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and it's like two-parters, like where it's like the Petra upgrade has been planned for a long ass time. So like you can't even say that like, oh, this is a byproduct of the last 3 months of the EF change or whatever. Like, no, this thing has been planned for a very, very, very long time. It's one of the largest upgrades that the ecosystem has had. All of these, like the only thing within that was a decision made within the new paradigm of how ETH thinks it should prioritize its efforts is that it removed something from Pectra, which was the EOF update, which was mostly a developer thing and not an end user thing. So the fact that they looked at that and said like, look, we should suffer for the users by not implementing this thing. Yeah, like that was good. But all of the other stuff, 7702, like the max EB increase, like all that shit, all of it was already well planned a long time ago and is kind of in line with old roadmap items. There are, however, vocal proponents within the Ethereum ecosystem that are now explicitly saying like prioritize Ethereum, prioritize mainnet, prioritize that. Then like the three orders that they have that you've seen in a few tweets is scale mainnet, scale blobs. Blobs is the thing that L2s use to gain scale on top of Ethereum, and then improve UX. Right, so like those are the three priorities, and in that order, it's like that order is new, and that is something that's just been vocal, and you will see some of that stuff materialize in forthcoming upgrades. But like they still have yet to do anything that is like in line with that new mandate. So maybe the vibe shift is enough to drive a little bit, or maybe not drive this price action, but make it stickier. So that's the hope.
Very interesting points. I mean, maybe it's obvious, but I guess I didn't dwell on it too much this morning when I first saw the prices, but I guess it does detract a little bit from the main headline when literally every other thing is moving at the same time. So I think that's pretty valid.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. David, what are you thinking here when it comes to looking at all of these asset classes? We're going to do a segment in a minute where we review our price predictions from a couple of weeks ago. I'm gonna do it, Brad. We're gonna do it. Where we kind of looked at all these different L1s. I think there's an interesting conversation there to have. But generally, looking at ETH versus all this other stuff at the moment, how are you looking at it?
Yeah, I think ETH to like Brad's point, ETH has been so suppressed, like versus whether it's Bitcoin or others, that I think it was just natural that when everything started going, it kind of outperformed this time. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out over the coming months. I know a lot of people talk about on various podcasts, like, hey, if ETH goes up 20-30%, easiest short ever. It's like, okay, well, let's see if that is the case. And it's interesting because we're not seeing any ETF inflows into it over the last 4 days. So it's kind of very much retail driven or institutional liquid fund driven.
That's a very good point. I actually looked that up this morning to see. So what you can see on the Bitcoin side is just like loads of green, like relentless green. Yesterday, 117 mil in, 142 the day before. We had a drawdown on 6th, but before that, 425 in, 674 in, 422 in. So like relentless green on the Bitcoin side. ETH side is kind of nothing really to say either way. It's like down 16.
I just sent you a link. Check out the coin market cap ETF view. It's much more intuitive to see like what the flow is.
Let me see then. Brad, do you want to talk us through this one? Why is this one a better one
Yeah,
to look
look
at
at
in
that.
your opinion? Or
Well, it's just the bar charts
what
right
numbers are
there,
you
right?
looking at?
So yeah, the ETF net flow chart, right? So like you were just like visually comparing the numbers that were getting thrown around. Now
Yeah,
you
you're
actually
right.
see the bar chart. Yeah, the Ethereum is in blue, BTC is in orange. It's nothing. It's zero.
So just
relative
explain
to
for
what.
people who are not watching in, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, so this dashboard tracks the net ETF flow for both Bitcoin and Ethereum products, right? So you can see not only the directional flow, whether it's in or out for either, but you can also see proportional for each other, right? So if Bitcoin is going up 100 mil, you'll see a 100 mil bar, and if Ethereum ETFs get a 10 mil inflow, it will be roughly 10% of the size of the bar of the Bitcoin one, right? So you can see here that, yeah, Ethereum has basically done nothing on the institutional side when it comes to the ETF flow relative to Bitcoin, even over these last few days. We had a little bit of outflow on May 6th. Looks like negative 84 or negative 17 mil. Mil on either of those two. And then over the last few days, it looks like Ethereum ETF is actually negative on the 6th and the 7th, while Bitcoin is positive 140 mil and 120 mil. So yeah, not great, and definitely not institutional driven as David was pointing out.
Excellent. Really glad you brought that up, and thanks for showing that different metrics, Brad, because I checked in on that in the morning to have a look as well. Definitely makes me think this is more just like people driving the price here rather than anywhere else. If anything, made me stronger.
Does it make it more or less sticky for you?
Less. Because go
on. I'm not sure, to be honest. I would say like the institutional ETF flows, I wouldn't say they're necessarily sticky or not sticky. A lot of the Bitcoin stuff, right, is based on the basis trade and people just longing the ETF and shorting the futures. It's really hard to know what the actual net demand is. You tend to see when the basis increases, the ETF flows increase, and not as many people do that with the ETH ETF. I think it's a great sign, right? Because if those ETH flows then flip on as well, that's just another catalyst. This is performing with it them being outflows. So yeah, and this is a mute point, but I don't know if anyone in the audience or you guys used to follow GCR or GCR Classic,
Of course.
which was like, yeah, the legend. I think one of his like final tweets was like ETH to 10K is programmed. And like that's more of a romantic view, but that guy is just a legend. Yeah. So at the back of my mind, whenever I think about ETH, I'm just like, it's going to 10K one day. So who cares?
Yeah, and his time frame is usually years. Like he's making like huge macro trend opinion pieces, or at least did. And he's right on a majority of them. It feels like he was right. Maybe he just yeeted out enough that it became right eventually enough that we can just like look back on it and think he had foresight. But yeah,
maybe this move is just GCR.
It's
unaccountable or otherwise.
Yeah, he's not tweeting a lot, but he's still active. I know people are tracking him like on Hyperliquid, and people talk to him in Telegram. I'll see screenshots come forward every now and then. Yeah, I mean, obviously not talking to the guy, so I don't know if it's him, but I have it on good faith that he is based on the people who are tweeting it.
Indeed. Okay, one of the things I wanted to do here was kind of look at the variety of our ones, right? And this is actually another reason why I think it's harder to bet on ETH longer term, although look, it's doing great. I've been critical of it for a while. There's all these other performant L1s as options. Before it was always this world where it's like, okay, Bitcoin's the gold and ETH is the smart contract layer platform layer. Whereas now you just got all these other things. And we did this exercise a couple of weeks ago where we asked Bread and Legendary, what are we doing? We have 10K at the moment. What are we going to do with it? How are you going to allocate between Bitcoin, ETH, Hype, Sui, and Sol? And so I went back and watched the video from 2 weeks ago. This was April the 23rd. Legendary said a little bit of Bitcoin and then split between Hype and Sol. Bread went all in on Hype, figuratively, not literally, because he did not make this trade. And I went 50% Bitcoin and 50% Hype. So the performance of all of these assets in that period of time, and I think it's a good point to check in because everything is up, but you're trying to figure out who's up more, right? So ETH in that time, despite its so starting with Bitcoin's up around 10-11%. It went from 93K to 103K in that time. ETH is up 33% from 1.8K to 2.4. Hype went from 18 to 25, which is 38%. Sui's up 37% from 2.9 to 4. Sol went from 150 to 167, which is only 11%, I think. So in the end, taking all this into account, Bread, figuratively, I must stress, outperformed everyone because he went all in on hype with a 38% return. Ledge went, he had a bit of Bitcoin and Sol, which hindered him a little bit. And me, in a similar sense, I had Bitcoin, which basically performed the same as Sol in that period of time. So I had 10% Bitcoin gains there, and then 38% in hype. And I guess, look, the reason I bring this up is because we're obsessed with ETH as an industry, which I think is correct for a lot of reasons. There's a lot to believe in with ETH, but now there's legit questions marks. Like this whole exercise even is an interesting exercise because we're asking, like, look, there's all these other great products out there as well, which are also performing really well, which makes it harder to, like, all of this capital, I think, is taking away from the capital that would have allocated to ETH. So the thing that I was thinking this morning was, okay, could this move have been because everyone is now underweight ETH? Like, if you are underweight ETH because of all the negative sentiment and because everyone's like got tired of it and because, the various reasons that you might want to criticize, everyone's underweight ETH. Even if that were true, in a previous world, people were like, okay, well, now I need to allocate to ETH. Whereas I think in this world that we're in now, we're like, well, okay, fine, I'm underweight ETH, but Sol's going to do a similar number. Now it's underperformed in this specific time frame, but you could be a real big Sol believer. Just like, look, I think that's going to outperform ETH over time. You'd be like, well, I actually really like hype, and so I'm underweight ETH, but that doesn't matter anymore because I can get my exposure to a smart contract platform and the trading vision that they have there, or I can go for Sui. So it's like, David, what are you thinking here? Then I want to switch around to Bread to hear about his.
Yeah, it's to your point, it's hard to know whether it's people rotating out of other stuff into ETH or maybe there's some new capital coming into ETH. What I have been seeing on my timeline more and more is people just naturally saying, like, at some point ETH has to bottom and there has to be a reversal in the trend. And I think that's what we're seeing. What happens longer term or even short to medium term from here is what's really going to be interesting. Like, has ETH regained its ability to excite people about its future, which I think for a long time it hasn't been able to, based on the Ethereum Foundation and what they've been putting out and people not being that excited about it. I have no idea if, like, suddenly like Brett said, I think Petra was probably priced in, but that's just a coincidence that happened and now it started to rally. And like every cycle, there's always like the new darlings of the cycle, whether it's a hype or a Sui or Solana massively to this one. So people maybe use those as more of their safety, rotate into profits from meme coins or whatever. Obviously with Solana, that's the case because you're already on there. There's a lot less meme coin trading on Ethereum now. But I think I've said in the past before, right, the amount of choice you have of picking a smart contract chain, an L1, is just never ending increasing. And a lot of people hold older coins hoping that they will one day regain attention. I think Ethereum is outside of that bracket just because it's the biggest. But we have obviously over the last year or 18 months seen the newer ones get a lot more bid and a lot more attention. But I personally believe that ETH will still perform well in a bull market. Now, risk adjusted, of course, it might not outperform the best one that you could pick out of the others, but it's harder to pick that one, right? Ethereum's a much safer bet in my opinion. And I do see it performing well over the next year.
Okay.
I'll probably eat my words on that clip, but hopefully not.
Brad, what are you thinking?
You're describing dispersion, my friend. Yeah, there's like two questions, right? Like one is Ethereum's not cheap. Ethereum as a smart contract platform is not cheap. It's still 280 billion right now relative to all these other smart contract platforms. The question is always like, are the services being provided by this thing worth the value that it is at today, right? So I don't think I don't think Ethereum is seen as purely just a smart contract platform. That's not its value proposition. Its value proposition is that it's a smart contract platform. It's the most decentralized, most censorship resistant, most like all of those blockchain core value things. Blockchain, our smart contract platform out there, right? So the question is, okay, if it's that thing, it's not the most performant. It's not going to generate the most fees. Based on like where you see the market's going, where like the applications are the things that are accruing value. They're the things that are driving activity. That's why Pump Fund and Jito and all these things on Solana are running, because that's where the applications are. That's why Hyperliquid with an enshrined application is generating a shit ton of fees as a chain. So the question becomes, okay, how are we valuing smart contract platforms, and what is the value of the most decentralized, most censorship resistant, most blah, 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 blah thing, right? There's a very real world where that has been mispriced, right? Where like the properties that it has are good, they are useful, they are valuable. How valuable are they? We don't know. Maybe it's not as valuable as these other chains that are coming forward and are prioritizing not being the most censorship resistant, not being the most live, not being the most whatever, but they do have strong applications, because we find out that users and applications don't necessarily give a shit about censorship resistance, liveness. We definitely overpriced liveness, right? Like I think that's something that we drummed over the head of Solana for several years. It'd go down, people would laugh at it, they'd mock it and say this is stupid, this is antithetical to blockchain. And as time goes on and price goes up, people maybe it's not so bad. Like whatever, you just turn your computer off for a day and you go and do whatever. So it's like, okay, did we misprice that property of liveness? Like maybe, who knows? So the question isn't necessarily like just like, oh, like, yes, Ethereum's Lindy. Yes, Ethereum's going to be around. Yes, whatever. But I someone asked, what is like a counter trend opinion you have in the space right now? I think it was sometime earlier this week, maybe last week. And I expressed this on a few podcasts too. Where it's like, maybe like there's a very real world where as dispersion comes in these smart contract platforms, like we overpriced all of them. If we think value is going to go to applications, the base layer and the base layer token, Ethereum may have been the gigatop, and 4 or 5K for Ethereum for a smart contract platform was the gigatop for all smart contract platforms, and all of them are going to compress lower together. Like some of the bottom ones will come up, Ethereum will go down, all of them net will go up, like as a category, sure, like more will pour into it, but the relative valuation of any given smart contract platform maybe goes down. And this is L1s, this is L2s, right? L2s can have superior applications because it doesn't have to do all the things an L1 can. So like, does that mean there's more value that can actually go to an L2 now, because like it can have the best applications because it doesn't have to deal with all the shit that we overpriced originally as an L1, this L1 premium people are talking about. So yeah, I'm personally not sold that I think all of these things are a given, go up into the right beyond where Ethereum was back in its peak. I think all of them could compress together lower as a category. And no one wants to hear that, but I think that's a very real possibility if we think the world is apps.
Yeah, I'm kind of that mind as well, in the sense that there's probably like a number which is an appropriate number for the category to have, and now people are fighting around in that category. So yes, Sui can rise very strongly in that category to kind of like get more of that that piece of the pie, but then it will come at the expense of another one. Like they can't all go up in that same way, I don't think. And so obviously you have Sui and Hype performing exceptionally well at the moment.
We have examples of this too, by the way. Like this wouldn't be the only category that does it, right? So we did the exact same thing on memes, right? We're in the presence of doing that with all memes.
Yes. Yeah.
We did the exact same thing with NFTs, right? Dogecoin was the #1 meme. It went to the highest of highs back in 2021. It was the peak meme, and we've been chasing that dragon ever since then. And you know what's happened? Dogecoin has compressed lower, and more of the lower bound has come up. So like as a category, sure, it's going up. The entire thing is compressing lower over time. You know what we did with NFTs? Punks went to the fucking moon. Apes flipped them for a day. Like everything was going crazy. Everything was awesome. We have been chasing that dragon ever since that day. And you know what's been happening? everything has been compressing lower across more assets over a longer period of time. Nothing has returned to its high. I think that same fractal could happen with blockchains as a category. ETH went to the fucking moon. Everyone's now traced that jargon of, oh my God, these things can get up to 450 billion as a smart contract platform. And all of them will compress lower over time, potentially. Maybe. Who knows?
I like that idea. I think that's the thing I was trying to articulate as well, in some sense. Okay, quick question then, Brad, before I want to ask a kind of institutional question to David, since he's here and they're very much involved on the institutional side. You've got your 10K back. You were up 38% on your hype play from 2 weeks ago. Same play? What did you do now?
Can I do? Pick any chain I can do?
Yeah. Well, out of these L1s, ETH, Hype, Sui, Sol, and Bitcoin, how would you allocate it now?
Hype, Sui, Sol. I don't think Sui's run is fundamental. I'd have to see. Yeah, I'd probably stick with Hype. Although at this point with it doing what it's doing, I think I'd probably split it out, play it safe, and do like now 50% Hype and do the 50% Bitcoin.
That was my play the first time round. David, quick one there. You have 10K now?
I'd do third into ETH, Hype, and Sui.
Interesting.
What do you think of the Sui stuff? Do you think it's going to continue to run? I hear a lot of great things about the reasons for the pump.
Yeah, so do I as well. There's a lot of, well, yeah, I don't want to, but I find Sui a weird one, right? It's become like super popular from a narrative, like timeline perspective, but we're pretty involved with like the Walrus protocol that's come out on it and running the infrastructure for that. So they're like trying to get things, trying to speak to like Web2 companies, Web2 clients, obviously the Pokemon rumors or whatever was flying around, but from a developer, like application layer. I mean, I personally I'm not sure I've ever used Sui to do much. So like, that's kind of a signal.
Yeah,
but
we actually,
you know what this did?
First time we had this conversation, we said the same thing. It was like 3 of us are there and all of us were like, yeah, the price seems to be going up, but none of us are really started to invest money in.
Yeah.
It's the same conversation as Celestia, where it's like, oh, it's got all this thing, it's abundant, it's fast, it's whatever, but no one's fucking using the thing. Like, it's got generating 27 cents in fees, and like, but you know, I did mint some NFTs on day one, and looking at my wallet, because this was incentive to go like, all right, what's going on with this shit that I bought 2.5 years ago or whenever the fuck it was. I found $4,000 over there, so that's cool.
Whoa, let's go.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
So yeah, I'm
in
doing
NFTs.
all right, apparently. Well, I sold them. That's why.
Oh, nice.
I bought them. I sold one, and then I think I got like 1 or 2 airdrops because of the one that I held on to. Yeah,
that is good. And ultimately, that's a great signal because in the end, I don't put money where I'm not doing things. Like, I think that's one of the learnings of at the beginning when I came to the space. You hear narratives on Twitter, and like you think, oh, that person's saying this, and maybe therefore it's good. Now I'm far more confident to be like, look, if I'm not using it, it could be good, it could be great, it could be amazing, but I know that I'm using hype, and I could be wrong, but I'm far more comfortable to be like, no, I am using it, and I trust my own activity to track what is generally successful.
You know what's annoying with that? I did 2 phases of like, I'm buying hype and stopped on both times because it was annoying. No, like, outside of the show to like go in and say like, all right, I'm fucking doing it today. And I didn't do it once. The first time was like whenever the big sell off because of the attack and everything was going down. Everyone was fighting. I think it was around $9. It was like, I sat there and I was listening to a podcast. I was like, people are fading this thing. Like, you need to buy. Like, this is the opportunity to buy. I vividly remember it in my head. I was like, this is one of those moments. I went to my computer, tried to, I was like, where the fuck do I buy this stuff? Like, it's annoying to like have to bridge out of this thing, figure out which portion of my portfolio I'm pulling from. Like, all this, I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'll do it later. Another time comes around. I've sat down on the weekend. I started like assessing my portfolio, and I went to several platforms. Like, where the hell can I buy this goddamn token? I can't buy it. And I was like, I'll figure it out later. This is annoying, whatever. And I left. So I don't know if this is part of the strategy, but if it is, they're winning me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you need to just sit down with me one day because it's annoying. It's like I want to be able to just buy it on like the 90 things that I'm already in. I don't want a 91st thing to have to buy this fucking thing.
No, you gotta do a new thing. It's worth it though. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out with you. We're gonna do that. Look, we're already over time. I appreciate it's been an interesting conversation. There's so much that's going on, so we've tried to touch on a variety of things today. Obviously, spend a bunch of time on ETH as well because that's the thing that's going to catch the headline today. Final question. I wanted to maybe come to both of you, but specifically David, because I know you guys do a lot on the institutional side at Silvermine and Global Stake. There's like been this confluence of like loads and loads of bullish corporate news, and I just wondered what your view was on them and to what extent you can express any kind of bet in the market to do with these. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of the things that have happened in the last 7 days. We had Stripe launching a stablecoin in 100 countries. Ramp launched stablecoin cards. Superstate are launching these on-chain equities, which we just mentioned. I think Robinhood is building their own crypto platform. You've got this Coinbase Deribit deal, which is the biggest deal in crypto history. Meta is now talking about them integrating stablecoins as well. All the meanwhile, you know, I know the Genius Stablecoin Act has just got knocked down, but you know, kind of waiting on that approval. Any view on how all of these more institutional pieces of news are moving the industry, and is there a way to express a bet here in the market that other people might like to consider?
Yeah, I think as like the point I always reiterate, right? Like these small things compounding over time are amazing. I think the M&A activity is a really good sign. Like we've had more M&A activity over recent months than ever before. Like VC still hasn't peaked to where it was in 2021, but M&A is through the roof, which shows more and more value being placed on the equity within the businesses that are being built in crypto. And those things take longer to mature, right? Versus a token. So these businesses that have been built over the last 3 to 4 years are finally getting to a place where M&A activity is happening. And that's happening because people are more confident that they'll be able to IPO. So it's a great time to be building businesses with a long-term view in this space at the equity layer versus the token layer. And it's going to be interesting seeing how that mix between token VC, equity VC, and M&A diverges over time. But it just shows the space is maturing. More and more people are willing to place bigger and bigger bets in these M&A deals on a space they believe in long term. They wouldn't be doing that otherwise. Like with tokens, it's always kind of hard. Like, are the VCs and the investors just short-term thinking to try and sell the token? M&A, that's a different story. So super positive for the industry overall, all this stuff.
Good stuff. Appreciate your take, man. Guys, that is our show for the day. We ran a little bit over. There's a lot of stuff to talk about today. Feels like we will not be selling in May and going away. I think the market is going to be alive for a period of time. So long as this like political deal making is still going to need to be done over the next couple of months, I think we'll still be here. Well, we're going to be here regardless, but I think we're going to be in for an interesting summer. David from Silvermine Capital, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, Brad, for co-hosting as usual. And thanks everyone for joining. We do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time, live on X Video, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify too. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and we will see you on Monday. Not tomorrow. It's the weekend. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.